Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, we talk all things work together with Rachel-Yvonne. Check it out. Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of grace. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you're here today, sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy means the world to me. I hope you know that in this moment, you are appreciated, you are valued, and you are loved. As you can see, I'm not alone. I have an amazing guest. She goes by the name of Rachel-Yvonne McIntosh. How's it going today, Rachel?
Hi, Tom. It's so good to be here. Today's been going really well, and I'm excited to do this with you.
I appreciate that. Do you mind if I introduce you to the people listening via your bio?
Sure, go for it. I want them to hear who I am.
Let's do it. Rachel-Yvonne McIntosh is a minister, preacher, singer-songwriter, and coach for women in ministry. She specializes in helping women in ministry to build influence, community, and make more money while walking in their divine purpose. Rachel is a powerhouse with a passion to influence change in the lives of others. Her mission is to inform people that they are brave, powerful, and free. She travels all over the world sharing a message of hope, how to live a naturally supernatural life on earth as it is in heaven, and leads congregations of all sizes. Yes, indeed. That's powerful.
Sounds like someone else sometimes. When people get their bios read and you're like, wow, yeah, that's me. This is me.
I always like to start the interview by saying your bio and a lot of the bios that I get to read are just really amazing. And at the same time, they can never really capture our true essence. So what is something about you that maybe your family or those close to you or even yourself that you might be able to share with us that a bio could never capture?
I feel like a bio can never really capture our full essence of who we are, everything we stand for, everything we've been through. My main kind of motto in life is brave, powerful, and free. And I feel like that is the one thing that encompasses who I am and everything I've been through and everything I've been able to accomplish, and even up to this point, my experiences. And I really believe that in my life, it really is a signature of God's grace and what happens when you decide to go for it. Like, I am just a girl who decided to go for it when other people felt like they were inadequate. I realized that my inadequacies were the very one thing that made me qualified for the things that I do. And I think that even as we share tonight, that we will be able to get an essence of that, and that you will also be able to hear more about that as we talk.
That's wonderful. Why don't you take us back? Have you always embraced your power and your freedom and your essence, or was it something that you leaned into? Was there a particular moment, or could you walk us through a little bit of that journey?
Yeah, sure. I feel that from a young age. I've been reminiscing on this actually recently, because I've been going on a journey of becoming more and more authentic, more and more transparent, and realizing, when did this journey really start? What are my earliest memories of being brave, powerful, and free? What are my earliest recollections of walking in my purpose and in being this woman that I am? And I actually remember, I think I was about 6 years old, and I sang a lead for a song in church. And I remember a lady coming up to me afterwards and saying to me that, gosh, she can't believe how I have the confidence to do that, and that she wishes that she could have the confidence that I have at my age in her adult life. And I've never forgotten that. And I even said this to my mum the other day, and I can sing the song even right now that I sung. That's how strong that memory is. And I think that as we grow, and when you look back, you will always see the beginnings of who you are as a child. Your dreams, your desires, your purpose, everything, your destiny was always there before you were born. So there are going to be moments in your life that you will look back and remember. And there's only one thing I really wish, really, is that when I was at school, went to a Catholic school. We lived in like a small village. I was the only black girl in like the entire school, and my brother was the only black boy. It's like very secluded community here in the rural parts of England. And I think one thing that I wish I knew that I know now is that I am unique, and my uniqueness is what makes me special. When you're in a community where you're the only one who looks like you, and you kind of want to be like everyone else, and you're not quite sure of who you are, I shied away from certain things because I wasn't the same as others. And I think those are the beginnings of me really knowing that I was unique and trying to figure out a way. There was a head teacher that knew that I was different, and there was another teacher that knew that I was different, and she helped me get into a really good school. But the majority of people didn't understand. They were just like, oh, you're just different, or made fun or different things like that. So when I look back, I think those circumstances really kind of highlighted and showed me from the early young age of how unique and special that I was.
If you were to write a letter or be able to speak to that young girl that you were, what would you like to say to her? What would you share with her about what you just spoke to with us?
Gosh, I would let her know that who she is who she's meant to be. That the way that she's been made, the way that she thinks, the way that she speaks, the way that she expresses herself in every part of her life was exactly the way that she was born to be. And that don't allow what everyone else is doing, or going with the crowd or trying to be popular. I spent way too many years of my youth trying to be popular. It never really worked, which is quite funny now, considering shift and turning events in my adult years. But as a child, I always wanted to be popular, always wanted to be like the pretty girl, always wanted to be the chosen one, and always wanted that. And I would let her know that, don't worry, like the day is coming. The same people that have rejected you right now, they will one day come and ask you for help, or ask you for advice, or congratulate you, or celebrate you. Just continue to be yourself, because that's who you're meant to be.
I love that. If I can put you on the spot, I was hoping if there was any way if you would give me some sort of in to ask if we could hear some of your singing abilities. Do you mind? Since you said I can still remember the song, do you want to share with us 3 lines, or is this not the time, Tom? What's your deal?
No. Yes, I remember the song. Just trying to think of a part I can sing. Okay. It goes. It's called "Set Me on Fire," and I tried to find it online, and I can't find the song anywhere. But it goes like this. It goes, set me on fire, make me your flame, a light of such brilliance, your truth to proclaim, to carry your message to a world Satan enslaves. It was a sign of a Messiah and the hope that he gave. Wow, I haven't sung that for I'm 35, and I haven't sung that for over 25 years. So I can't believe I even remember the majority of those lyrics. Crazy.
And who would have known when you sang it 25 years ago that you'd be singing it on a podcast? What's a podcast? With someone in the United States? What? How do you do that?
Listen, even my friends, they're always like, oh, who knows the song? Oh, Rachel will know the lyrics. I can remember lyrics from probably almost every gig I've ever done. I will meet people that I did a Disney thing with 20 years ago and be like, hey, do you remember this song? And they'll be like, how do you remember every part of it? I just said, I don't know. So I don't know. I have a talent for remembering song lyrics, the melody, and the key that they were done in as well. It's a unique gift.
Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with music and when you started to express by writing songs and singing?
Yeah, so growing up in church, and my dad's a pastor, and he's been a pastor my entire life. And the thing about being a pastor's kid, which if any of your listeners or viewers are, they will know this, is that you actually end up being someone who gets to know how to do everything in church, and your parents really feel like they hit the jackpot if you have any kind of musical ability. So they're like, amazing, we have everything we need to write in our household. And so my parents both did a little bit of music when they were in Bible school. And then when they had us, one of the first things that we were allowed to do was learn how to play an instrument. So I was able to pick an instrument. They said we had to do piano. We had no choice. And at the time, singing wasn't considered for them like a proper job or whatever, but they knew we could sing. So I was allowed to do singing. And then I picked saxophone as well. And so I'd always sing in church. That's how we would learn our Bible books. We'd learn like different stories through song. And again, like I just sang a song that I sung like 30 years ago. So it's quite funny that's the way I remember things. And when it comes down to it, it ended up being that when I was in school as well, I went to a Catholic primary school, and I was never really selected as the lead, which is, the life has a funny way of showing you different things. And so when I was at school, I was never selected to be like the main characters for anything, for musicals and stuff. I would love to be I was in choir, but I was never like a lead singer. Nothing really happened with that until after I even left secondary school, which is quite crazy. Because in school, I was, I did music, but I was never like, in the main, like the principals or anything like that. But then outside of that, when I was in church, I would always be picked for leads and things like that. So it was interesting seeing the two marry. When I was about 17, my mum saw an advert in a newspaper for a gospel choir, but for children. And so she saw it and she said to me and my brother, hey, why don't you guys go and audition for this? Because it was for the BBC. And so we looked at it and we were like, oh yeah. So when we got to the audition, one of the persons doing the audition was someone we knew all our lives. And so that was amazing. And she was like, oh yeah, I know these kids. And so we sung for the producer, and then we ended up being in the choir. We got to sing on television countless times. And I remember I think my first paid job was, I think I was either 16 or 17, was singing on television for the Brit Awards. And from then on, it's just been like an interesting journey of different jobs. And then the turning point in terms of like more television stuff was that got to sing with Sam Smith because he asked for, so in music, I don't know if a lot of people are aware, but sometimes in music, because almost everybody can sing, so everyone can sing, so that's like the lowest denomination. Like, can you sing? Of course you can sing, you're here. But then they go a lot further now on television. They pick people based on height, size, complexions, different things, so they have like what they're looking for. Which is why you would look, say, like for a Beyonce concert, you'll see like she will pick certain types of looks of women, like all Black women, or she'll pick, all tall and stuff like that. So there is a look to way things are selected. So Sam Smith, they wanted 3 women who were similar heights, similar sizes. So I got to do that with me and 2 other friends. And so then producers of the X Factor saw some footage. They do a lot of headhunting, a lot of scouting. They go around to talent shows, they go to churches, they go to different places to look for the best talent that they can put on television. So they heard about us, saw a video and said, we want those girls. But some of the girls that did the show didn't want to do X Factor. So then we had to go and look for some more members of the group. And so then we got to X Factor, did that for like a couple of months, made it to judges' houses. And then for the first time, they did something called a live reveal. So they did a live show where they had to select the final 12. And unfortunately, we didn't make the final 12, but it was an amazing experience. And it's amazing to me in that part of the journey how much social media has changed since then, even because I wasn't as public on socials as I am now. So I think I would have spun it a different way. And again, it goes along with my journey of authenticity and realizing that actually all parts of my story are valid and can be used in a positive way. And so we didn't make the cut. And since then, I've done much more of my own kind of singing work, a lot more stuff in churches, a lot more preaching. I've recorded an EP and I've got a single out as well, and currently just kind of finishing off my second EP. But for me, music is like breathing. I literally burst into song at any time. When I was younger, my dad used to be like, "You're singing all the time," but now they're used to it. They know I'm not myself when I'm not singing. And that's also a litmus test for me, for my mental health as well, is when I realize, oh, you're singing again. I'm like, okay, I'm in a good place. So that's really, a long roundabout way of my journey in music.
I want to ask, you had touched upon it right after you said, so we weren't the ones who were accepted for X Factor. And you mentioned basically, that you had a growth mindset around it of everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm always curious about how people arrive at those kinds of mentalities and worldviews, because so many people are looking to be able to respond to life with that kind of growth mindset. So do you mind sharing any of your reflections or ahas, or how you embraced and incorporated having that type of philosophy?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Tom, it was a really hard time for me because we didn't make the final 12, and then it was like this big thing in the papers, and dealing with my personal life even at the time. The partner I was with at the time, he wasn't even a fan of me being in the group, so it was kind of like there was all these like mixed things going on, and all I had to do was to center myself and to realize that all things work together for my good. And even with what happened with the group, and I ended up not even being a part of the group anymore because they said that my priorities were changing. And it was true, my priorities were changing. And I wasn't really owning up to who I really am. And I think when I look back, there are things I would have done differently. But ultimately, the main thing that always keeps me going in those hard times, whether it's a breakup, whether it's, failing an exam or anything like that, is that all things are always working out for me. I have to remind myself that regardless of these things that happen, I still have a purpose. There's still a plan for my life, that my destiny cannot be distracted by these things unless I let it happen. And the last thing I always think about is that, what if there's one girl, what if there's one boy that needs to hear what I have to say? Because we all have a unique audience that we are connecting to, that listen to us, that might listen to me, but they will listen to you, and vice versa. So I always try to think, there's always someone worse off. There's always someone needs to hear what I have to say. And that every experience I go through, there's a quote I love, which is this, that God wastes nothing and he gets you ready. That everything that you go through, everything you experience is a life lesson. And it's how I managed to be able to live without regrets. I look back and see where I could have made different choices, but ultimately there aren't any regrets here at all.
I love that. The phrase is, everything's always working out for me and for my betterment, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, or what can you offer for people who want to believe that, they want to embrace that, but they're feeling stuck, they're feeling frustrated, that life's shown them the complete opposite, and they're skeptical, but maybe they want to embrace it? What would you share with them?
Yeah, I would say that I understand. I completely understand. Like I have been through some really crazy times. Like, I've had miscarriages, I've had divorces, I've been evicted, I've had my personal life like shown on blogs and like people talking, and actually seeing it like played out in real life. Like I'm sitting here and I'm being sent links to videos, to like blogs, and to watch a live talk show of people talking about me and situations that I've been through, and for me to be like, it's all good, it's fine, and to never ever defend myself. So I completely understand where they might be coming from. Whenever I have looked back and seen the moments that have defined who I am, the moments that where my faith has been tested, but I know that everything again is ultimately working out for my good. I think it needs to be something that we deeply know, we deeply trust, and we deeply understand. Because if I were to look at the facts, if I were to look at the evidence written down, and when I even write down things, things that happened, or when people ask me, or when I go on interviews like this and I'm asked to recollect, sometimes I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, how are you still living? And the fact of the matter is that you have to know within your heart, within your soul, that you were born for this moment. And I think that's what keeps me going. The fact that I know that there's no better time for me to be alive than right now, that there must be a reason why I'm here. There has to be more than this. There has to. And also, when I get the feedback from other people who are impacted by the things I have to say, even my reactions to big life changes, they're amazed. I'm amazed too. And I'm like, oh, you're talking to me? It just constantly amazes me. And I feel like those things keep me going. It has to be an internal thing, because we live in a social media age where, people are so concerned about likes and shares and comments and hearts, and who didn't read your DM, and who read your DM and ignored you. And I get it, because I can get into that also. But ultimately, I know that if just one person responds to what I have to say, it was all worth it. And I think that's what we have to realize.
Man, it's just such a testimony to, you never know what a person's story or journey has been.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. It really means a lot. How did you get into ministry? I mean, I'd imagine if my parents were ministers, I'd want to do the complete opposite. I'd want to stay far away from the ministries. How did you hear that calling and answer it?
I'm not even sure. Like, I don't remember. Like, for me, I don't know, everybody has a different story, but for me, there was never this moment where it was like, yes, now you should do X, Y, Z. It just kind of happened. I actually don't remember. So, in some churches, they do this thing called a trial sermon, or your initial sermon where you do the first sermon. I never had that. And I was talking with my dad about that the other day, and he was just like, yeah, you never had that. You kind of just got up and you started speaking, and then we ordained you. Like, that's just how it happened. I was just like, oh yeah, that is how it happened. I always did things before I was ready. I think that's something that we should always do. Do things before you're ready, because you're never actually ready. So I did my Bible school training, did my seminary, went to ministry school, done all those things along the way, but never with a view to be like, oh, this is what I want to do in ministry. It's just been, for me, it's just 100% a calling for me. It's not like, oh, this is the path I chose. I never really chose it, but now I choose it every single day. And now I realize, yeah, this is what I was born for. This is what I was meant to do. And it's funny you should say that. Most, ministers' kids do want to go the other way. Yeah, that is a lot of people's testimonies. However, what I also find is that the majority of us end up in ministry anyway. When I look now and look at a lot of flyers and a lot of different things, I'm like, oh yeah, there's that bishop's kid, and there's that pastor's kid, and there's, and it's interesting, because some things are taught to you, and you don't even realize you're being impacted by that teaching of your parents' lifestyle, of the teachings that you learned as a child. And I think I've grown into it. And it hasn't even been an easy path, because my church traditionally never really had women ministers and things like that. And even breaking through those barriers and working double hard than the boys to get ahead, it just made me more resilient, and realized that actually this is a calling. Like, I'm not just doing this for fun, because I could have picked something else. But as I said, I didn't pick it, it picked me, but I agreed with the calling. And it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I've understood and I've come to terms with the fact that it's my calling, and that in order to do it well, I need to be authentic with Jesus and with myself and with everything that I'm doing.
I'm going to ask you a really easy question that has been answered by philosophers already, so it should be a breeze. Who, God? Talk to me about it.
So to me, God is creator, God is father, God is everything I needed, everything I need, and more than I could ever even imagine. The Bible lets us know that he will do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask or think. And I am 100% a living witness of that in my life, that he does always exceedingly abundantly above everything I could ever ask, think, imagine. And I know people question the existence of God and like, why would there be a God when XYZ happens? And even in my own life, had, again, miscarriages, seen death, cancer, seen all sorts of different things happen, even in my family, some in my own personal life. And yet I still believe in God. I still believe that he is always good, and that everything I do will work out for the good because he loves me. And I've seen that his own sacrifice in Jesus shows me that it's possible. And for me, God is very much real, but not in the religious sense. I know sometimes that throws people off, but very much in the spiritual sense of him being here in the room with me now, of him being inside of me, in my heart, of him even helping me and being, there's a Greek word for the Holy Spirit, which is parakletos, which means the one who enables, of being the one who enables me to breathe, enables me to speak, and enables me to be this person that I am. And I know that if it wasn't for my faith in God, I 100% would not be sitting here talking to you today. I would probably be dead. Probably, if I wasn't dead, I would have very severe mental health issues. Not to say that we're perfect, but it's just that the faith is what helps me get through. And seeing the miracles of God evidenced in my life has really been amazing. So for me, God is real.
I love that. And I love how you brought up, for me, there's three aspects of these conversations. We have faith, spirituality, and religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you speak a lot to the faith and the spirituality part. And for most people, that is enough. To have the faith and spiritual connection to God is what they're looking for in life.
Yeah.
What about for you? How does religion add value to your relationship with God? How does it create strength, community, anything you want to speak on the religion part of it?
Yeah, sure. I think the community aspect is probably the most important. I have, got the best friends and the best people around who are in that faith community. And I think when it comes down to it, what I love as well is the gatherings, like going to church, having community, and that element of being together, of teaching together, of singing together, of just having what we call fellowship and communication with each other is really a big part of this. And which is why I kind of shy away from using the word religion. For me, like Christianity and Jesus is not a religion for me. It's literally the way that I breathe and live. So it doesn't feel like religion. Like, I desire to speak to God every day. I desire to read the Bible. I desire to be at church. I desire, like, these are the things I want. If I didn't want it, I wouldn't be doing it. And I think that's where sometimes there can be a disconnect of, yes, I was brought up in it. And yes, maybe as a child, you go wherever your parents go, like you're brought there. But now that it's a choice, and it's been a choice for many years, it's a choice I gladly make, because I see the benefits of it. I see the benefits of community, of having some sort of routine, as it were, spiritual routine, of prayer, of fasting, of daily meditation, and a lot of so-called spiritual practices, which are Christian practices anyway. So for me, that's how I kind of relate to that.
I appreciate that. So one trend we're seeing within religions, and I'm Muslim, so I can speak to seeing this within my religion as well, is young people not being connected to any sort of church, mosque, temple. That, like, my wife goes to church every Sunday, and I've gone with her, and the youngest people are 50 and up. And you see that at the masjid as well. Why do you think that young people, when I say young, I mean 50 and under, that there is this disconnect, or we're not seeing as much young people going to religion or institutions or being a part of a congregation?
Okay, so I have a counter kind of argument towards that, is that there is a rise actually of under 50s attending church, but maybe just different types of churches. So, for example, the churches that I attend, the average age is my age, which is 35. So there is a movement in terms of what people are looking for. So you'll find a lot more people like me, like more like funky dressing, more open to like going to different events, and where we understand that it's not like a religious activity to pray or to fast or to read your Bible. It is actually, that this is a good thing to do. Like, just as good as listen to Gary Vee, you're going to listen to TD Jakes, because you understand that, there is content that you can get for your life that will motivate you and move you along. And so I think it does depend on where we're looking. And in actual fact, some of my friends work in the media, and they always get these kind of reports that come through where it's showing the growing trends of certain type of churches, of certain type of gatherings that are becoming more popular, where you're seeing a lot more younger people come. And I think the reason for that is what we talked about before, about community, is about the motivation aspect, is that kind of aspect where they're getting those elements. And so because of that, they are gravitating towards those type of churches rather than traditional or churches that don't really meet their needs, as it were.
I think too, and you can share with me your thoughts on this. I think for a lot of us, we're looking for religious institutions, whether that's churches or masjids, that model inclusion, that aren't like our grandparents or parents' idea of, sexism or homophobia, or, my religion's the only way. Do you feel that that is maybe another reason why we're seeing a shift in where young people are going to church, or if they are or aren't?
I think, but to be honest, I know that people would expect that. However, that hasn't been the case, because even though there are movements and churches where there are more young people, those churches are not more inclusive. They're actually probably stronger in doctrine than anything else, because I think for people our age, we're really looking for like something deeper. So we're looking for that community aspect. We're looking for that motivation. Like, this is the Gary Vee generation, and where we're interested in technology and innovation. So we don't mind the traditional views, but it has to come in a particular package, maybe, or there has to be other ways of connections. We've got Facebook groups, we've got, apps and things like that. So I wouldn't say doctrine-wise or inclusion-wise there's been a shift. I would say more it's on the way that it's being shared. If you lead with the doctrine, then yes, you're going to have less people coming. But if you lead with the love and you lead with the community aspects, you lead with the innovation and how we can be connected, because ultimately what everybody really wants is connection. And I think that's the main element that we're seeing a shift towards.
A lot of what I do, I work for example, for a nonprofit that does interfaith work. And a lot of, especially in America, religion is a big divide, especially with Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. How do you think that, me and you were both people who identify with a religion or a faith? How do you think that we can be encouraging or, incorporating interfaith conversations or interfaith community into the work that we're doing?
Sure. And I think that, to be honest, that's like a huge part of my work. Like, even though I don't water down anything in my content, the majority of my clients end up not being Christian. And I think it's because when it comes down to it, like we said, like, everyone's always looking for connection. People love prayer. They really want to feel like they're connected to something bigger. And I think when we do interfaith work, like I said, like, the majority of my clients are not even Christian. That's like they probably won't ever be. And that's not even what I'm trying to do. It's literally just the way that they're drawn to what I have to say. And I think that in our work, we can definitely bring that in, because when we are able to see the changes that we can make and the changes that we can see in their lives, and they can see the evidence of that, the faith won't even matter. In fact, I found that they love it. They're like, oh yeah, definitely, did you go to church today? Or, oh, I listened to your music, or, oh, can you pray for me? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I can pray for you. And I think the main thing that people are looking for is even with interfaith stuff is that we're authentic, is that we don't pretend, and that we're open with each other, and that we lead with love and we lead with community. And we honor, when you honor the person for who they are and not for who they're not, then you really see a big difference. Like, you can speak to the gold in them and bring it out. You can speak to their purpose and bring it out. And none of that has anything to do with our faith or our religion. It has everything to do with us loving that person and seeing and wanting to see their best come out of them, and wanting to see them fulfill their heart's desire, to see their purposes come to pass, and to really dig out of them the gold that we know is in there.
I love that. Yes. How did you start to get into the business development aspect of your business, of your calling? When did that start?
So this has been an organic journey, very, very organic. It's been a very, very organic journey for me. It's been one where I didn't realize it was happening until it was happening. When we're in our business, we're often asked to do market research. So you find out, like, what do people need? What are they coming to you for? And the questions that I was getting, the majority of my questions were around, how do I start my business? How do I get more visible on social media? How do I do a story on Instagram? Where do you come up with content? And so I kind of just fell into it. They're like, how do you send emails to your community? And so it just kind of was like an organic thing. And now I realize that's what people want. They want, when you share your message, when you share who you are, when you share what you're doing, they actually just want to know, how did you do it? They want to know that, because a lot of people aren't really saying that. They're saying a lot of things, but they're not actually showing you how to do it. And so that's how it came to me, really organic. And it's probably the biggest part of my business now, is like the business tech side and startup side.
Can you offer any of the advice or insights that you share around social media or business development or communication?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my biggest message really around it is that you are your niche, and that what people are coming for is for you. The reason why people pick you out of billions of people is because you're you. They're not looking for you to be the next Gina DeVee, the next Gary Vee. They're not looking for you to be Tony Robbins or Oprah. They're actually coming to you for you. So the sooner you realize that, and you work out, what is it in my story that I can use in order to bring people and draw people to me? And you don't even have to think about it too deeply. You just have to ask a couple of people, what am I known for? Like, would you come to me for? And you'll be able to get something from those answers. And when it comes to being on social media, again, be yourself. Be exactly everything that you were born to be. And people start to get to know you. They start to get to know you for the things you say, the things you like, the things you don't like. And then they start to be drawn to you, because especially in this age where we are heavily influenced by social media, it's incumbent upon us to be authentic with the amount of fakery that goes on and the amount of things that are overly produced. Even having been in an overly produced television show or having worked in television, I see both sides. And that you can still bring authenticity in something that's been curated. Just because you create something, just because you plan something, doesn't make it inauthentic. But it's up to us to teach people that it's possible to do both. So we can do the ad hoc, spontaneous videos and spontaneous videos. We can do both of those. But also there is beauty in designing your picture, in setting up the shots, in planning your feed, in making sure your background, lighting, everything is perfect, ensuring that you are wearing colors that suit you and bring out your best features, ensuring that you've had a meal and you're not grumpy when you get on video. All these small things really bring into that extra confidence. And those are the things that I really share with people. Whatever makes you more confident, do that before you get up. do that before you show up on camera, because that's what comes through. We will see that you are uncomfortable. We will see that you don't really want to do this, and let us know why we should listen to you and why we should watch you.
That was fire. I loved how you started by saying you are your niche, because I so often see people take advice where they try to define their target audience or their niche, and then they limit and shrink themselves to try to fit into what they think that audience then wants, rather than what you were saying is like, it's you're the niche, be yourself, and the community we built around that. I love that.
Thank you.
What right now is something recently that you've started to do or double down on that is working well for you in terms of business development or social media?
I think the main thing for me most recently is probably just like being much more authentic. And you might be like, Rachel, what does that mean? Like you've pretty much always been pretty authentic. Yes and no. There have been parts and times when I have not shared what I should have shared. But then I've realized that actually there are times and seasons for different things. And I think the most important thing for me right now is being so niched and so specific that I repel the people that I'm not meant to work with. Like, I'm happy for you to delete me. I'm happy for you to unfollow me. In fact, please block me. Like, that's the goal. The goal is to get rid of the people that do not need to be in your community, whether that's your friends, whether that's relationships, whether that's a work situation, a degree that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. All these things, get them out, and to make room for what you should be doing. And I think being authentic and being yourself is where that's going to come into it. But the other thing with that is what I'm learning is learning more about who I am as well. And someone said, oh, wow, it took you all the way to 35 to realize that. I said, yes, it did. But some people, they go throughout their whole life and never really know who they really are, or own up to who they are, or live their truth, as people say. And I think the more that I do things like, do Enneagram testing and look at your Myers-Briggs profile, personality testing, your Gallup Strength Finders, your DISC, all these different things are just tools that you can use to help to know yourself. And I think that's the thing I'm doubling down on at the moment, is just being more authentic, knowing who I am and knowing who I'm not as well. That's very, very important.
Plus, the other thing is 35 is so young. like God willing, like you'll live another life that you've just lived at least. Like my dad's my dad's almost 70 and he is like young. You know what I'm saying? Like so if someone's like, oh, it's like you all the way to 35. It's like, yo, I'm young. Like, what are you talking about? I love what you said about being yourself and not worrying if it, for some people, it's not their jam. Whenever I help people with their Facebook ads, we always create what's called a polarizing ad, so that right away you stop wasting your time on the people who will never like you and they click hide. So I think it's not only good life advice, but good business advice. So I appreciate you sharing that.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about what for some people to their ear might have been a taboo. And that is that you talked about money and religion. You're saying that you help women in ministry to make money while walking in their divine purpose. Some people might have a negative connotation about that. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm fine with church until the collection basket gets passed around. So is there any, myth busting or kind of helping to inform that bias, or anything you'd like to share around that?
Sure. I mean, I'm always like, well, what Bible are you reading? Because money's all over there. Like, there's different things. The Bible even tells us that money answers all things. Like, it answers all things. Like, it answers your problems. You need to pay your electric bill. You're going to need money for that. You need some new clothes for your children. They started school. You're absolutely going to have to pay for that. You will not be able to pray your way out of that. Absolutely not. So when people say things like that, I'm always looking at them like, did you eat today? How did you eat? Did you exchange money for food? So I just feel like I wish I knew where that concept came from. In actual fact, I kind of do. There was like the Puritan culture from here, sadly, from the UK, that kind of went over to America and to the rest of the Western world, this kind of lack mindset, poverty mindset of, and highlighting on things like, there's a passage where Jesus asks, where a rich young ruler, it says, asked Jesus, what should he do to enter the kingdom of God? And he was like, give away all your money to the poor. And people highlight that like as if this is like some great theological thing that we should all be doing. I'm just like, really? We need to contextualize scripture, understand that one passage cannot live on its own. And so that's the error that we sometimes make, is that we're going off. And another thing you probably heard many times is, money is root of all evil. That's not written anywhere. It says the love of money, because the love of anything other than God will bring you down. Like literally, that's common sense. When we're selfish, when we're concerned about only ourselves, when we're not concerned about our neighbor, we end up doing things that only benefit us, like stealing, like killing. These are moral guidelines. So, that has nothing to do with money. Money is just energy. Money is a tool. Money is just an exchange that we use in 2019 in order to gain things. It could easily be replaced by water, by cows, whatever you're using in your environment. But it just so happens that in this day and age, we are using money. So for me, when I understand abundance, and that's my latest offering at the moment, is Abundance Collective. And people ask me like, why are you talking about abundance? I said, because that's something that God said, that we were to have the abundant life, and that he said that he came to give us life and more abundantly. So, and I even referenced earlier that you will get exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think, which means that even the things that you request, that you think are big things, there's more that can be done for you. Even your wildest imagination, there's more that can come. So when you're asking for 5, he's ready to give you 500. Like that's not even a hard thing to have in our lives. And I think the more that we understand this and kind of get away from that lack mentality, lack mindset, it's not about offerings. It's not about that. It's not even about that. But when it comes to working and being paid to speak, or you write an ebook. So some people might say, well, what do you mean? Like, how can a woman in ministry earn money? Okay, I will say, okay, a devotional. Like Christian girls love to read devotionals. Write a devotional. Write a small book, of a testimony book, or you can offer some teaching sessions on a particular topic. Maybe do an introductory study into something. Maybe talk about faith. Maybe talk about confidence, whatever. There's so many things you could do, and you can ask for payment in exchange. That's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And those are just the ways that I would start that conversation.
I love that. And I think that like you have in there, making money while walking in your divine purpose. So not making money through spam or scammy or being like trying to guilt people into, or using religion to guilt, but it's like you can make money while still being centered. So
yeah,
I think that's why you have that there. So you might have heard me say that this is my year of grace.
Yes, I heard that. I that was powerful.
And so for me, it's an intention for my daily life, but it's also for me a conversation starter that I like to have with my guests. So for you, what is grace?
Grace is the ability to have, be, and do something that I did not pay for or deserve. It means that people often say the unmerited favor of God. So it's what I didn't pay for, but I get anyway. There are situations that we go through, things that we do, that the penalty could have been much worse, but somehow you didn't get the penalty that you deserve. You actually didn't get the full brunt of the law, or you didn't get, it wasn't as bad as what you thought it was going to be. That's grace. The ability to be able to manifest your desires without even realizing where they came from. That's grace. The grace is favor that you didn't have to work for. And that is the way that I describe it. And, unmerited favor is usually one of the ways that people explain it. And the Greek word for grace is charis, which means that. And so it's a favor that is supernatural that you couldn't pay for and you actually couldn't work for because you don't even deserve it. So that's what I view grace as.
I love that. Do you mind expanding upon what you mean by deserve?
Deserve. That's a good. So when I say deserve, I mean, okay, so it's more of a case of thinking that you know who you are, you know what you've done, but yet you're still here, yet you walk in favor. So it's more of a case of, wow, I could be used for this. Like, wow, that's amazing. And it's kind of like having that awareness of your own. I don't want to use the word unworthiness because I don't really like to use that, but it's more of a case of coming to awareness of who you are and what you're capable of. And knowing that in spite of that, look at all these amazing things that you have in your life. In spite of that, your purpose is still there. Your destiny has not been affected by the things that you have done. That's grace. So I think that's what I mean by that.
Well, I appreciate that. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy and intention and grace with us here today. It really means a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been an amazing time with you, I must say. I count it a privilege and honor to have even been asked to do this. Again, another symbol of grace and favor in my life is just, this is a tremendous honor. Thank you so much, Tom.
It's my pleasure. Where can people reach out to you to share their affirmations and love and tell you how awesome you are?
Well, words of affirmation are my number one love language, and I'm an Enneagram 3, so I thrive on affirmations. So you can come and find me on Instagram, instagram.com/Rachel-Yvonne. That's it. I'm the first one. Like literally, you type my name in, there'll be no other. That's, I'm unique. And even in Facebook, if I still have friend spaces left, you can come over and join me on there too, Rachel-Yvonne McIntosh, and you'll be able to find me. The picture will have pink hair because I normally have pink hair. This is just a break right now, but I normally have pink hair. But I've got a pink top on, so I'm still in brand. But that's where you can find me. Instagram or Facebook, social media is my jam.
Wonderful. And for those who are on the go, weren't able to write that down, tomrell.com/Rachel, RACHEL, tomrell.com/Rachel is where you're going to find all the show notes and links for this week's episode. Once again, Rachel, this has been awesome. This really felt like a spiritual experience. I think people are really going to see life a little differently from these past 51 or so minutes. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone was able to get something from today. It's really been a pleasure.
And if they didn't, chances are it's because they are heartless. Just kidding. We're only partially judging you. Okay, Rachel, here's how we like to end our episodes, our closing ritual. What is an invitation you'd like to share with those who are with us right now? An invitation to them to become, an invitation to consider, to think about, to evolve. What is your invitation?
So what I would love to do is to invite you to understand that who you are is who you're meant to be, that you are brave, that you are powerful, that you are free, and that you have survived 100% of everything that was meant to stop you. Like 100% of it. You're still here. You're watching this. You're listening to this. And I just really want to encourage you to understand that you are here for a reason and that this is the moment that you were born for.
I mean, we're going to put some music to that, and then we're going to have people set that as their alarm. And that's how they're going to start the day, because that right there is alignment. Wow. Well, I can't say it enough times, so I'll say it one more time. Thank you so much, Rachel. I pray that God continues to guide you, bless you, and protect you. and reward
Thank
you.
you.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. You too. You too.
I mean, and to all of those who are listening or watching, as always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.